what's up, everybody? So last time we talked about 1 Peter 5:6, and I feel like it's almost mandatory if we're going to talk about 5:6, then we have to talk about 5:7, right? I mean, it's the next verse. It's like it's the natural outcome. And on second thought, maybe that's not the right wording for it. Maybe it's not a natural outcome. Maybe it's the next logical step. See, 1 Peter 5:6 says that we have to humble ourselves before God, and He'll exalt us in due time. And we talked about how important that is, right? To just trust God and live with abandonment in front of Him, and that's super important. But 5:7. There is no 5 Peter. 5:7 goes a little bit further with that and says we have to cast our burdens on the Lord because He cares for us. Now, at first, my thought in my brain was I was reading that and thinking about it this week. I was like, okay, so it's like when we get home from work, you're tired and you've had a long day or whatever, and you just kind of plop down on the couch and, the couch sustains you, right? And I was like, oh, that's probably what it's talking about. Or like when you sit down at dinner and you just, think about it, you just sit down in the chair and you're like, good, I'm sitting, yay. But there's so much more than that. Like there's a lot more activity that's involved in that. Now that same type of faith is involved here, but really it's so bigger. It's so much bigger. It's so much more than that. This idea of casting is kind of simple actually. It's one of those words in the Bible that means what it says. It's throwing. Right, so casting our cares is not like this romanticized movie type thing where the hero comes in before the king and is like, "Oh my lord, I need you. Your help, your assistance. Here's the little thing I need from you." No, it's a throwing, right? It's not like going to somebody that you need help from, so you prepare your paperwork or your argument in a specific way, hoping that you can maybe get them to do something about your situation, so you prepare it really carefully. No, it's a throwing, right? This idea is that we're going to take our burdens, our anxieties, and we're going to say it's too much for me. This weight is too heavy. I can't bear this. I'm throwing it on God. Like, I wish I had something to throw, right? It's like taking it and saying, I'm not going to hold on to this. I'm throwing it away. I'm casting it on God. I'm getting rid of it. I'm like chucking it on God, because I know that the King of the universe, the God Most High, can stand this thing I'm throwing on Him. I find it kind of interesting that the other time this word casting is used in the Bible is when the disciples were throwing their coats on the donkey, right? Before Jesus rides into Jerusalem, they go and they untie a colt and they bring it and they throw their coats on it. Jesus gets on the colt and He rides into Jerusalem and everybody sings Hosanna, 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 right? Beautiful story. And that word casting is the same word that's used there. The disciples just took their coats, they picked them up, and they cast them on the donkey. They just threw them on the donkey, right? No worries about the donkey whatsoever. They weren't worried like, oh, if I throw my coat on this donkey, he's going to buckle under the pressure. No, it didn't matter. They just threw it on the donkey. No thought involved in it, just natural thing. That's what you do. Now, obviously, I'm not saying God's a donkey, but you get the idea. He's not going to buckle under the pressure of our burdens and cares and anxiety. God's not going to be like, listen, I need a minute here, okay? I got a lot of things going on. I don't have time for your problems right now. No, God at all times says, hey, bring it. Bring it to me. Cast your cares on me. Throw those burdens down. Like, just get rid of it. That's what God tells us to do. Now, I think what we have too is we have a pretty cool thing that we get to do here, in that if we find that we're not doing that, if we're coming to God and we're being like, God, if you could, might you want to help me? Like, if you're not too busy, I understand you're running the universe and all, so my piddly little problems isn't too much. Like, I've approached God like that, but God says, no, don't do that. Like, bring it to me. Cast your cares on me. Like, God is so much bigger than we realize sometimes, and we don't bring the fullness of what we need from Him. We don't bring the fullness of who we are. We don't bring the fullness of our problems and cast them on. Just throw them at His feet and say, I can't do this, I need your help. But that's what He wants from us. So when we get this opportunity, right? We get this opportunity to bring our cares and our concerns before God and cast them to Him. And if we look and we see that we're not actually doing that, then we get to look and say, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to do in order to change my view of God so that I can properly cast my cares on him. Because that's on us. If we're not bringing our fullness and our full problems and our weight of our lives and casting them on God, that's on us. That's not him. We're the ones not allowing God to move in our lives sometimes because we're not casting our cares on him. We're not throwing the weight of our burdens down on him because we think maybe he's too busy. Right? Like when my kids, they've got a problem, they come to me. They know that I've handled other things, my own problems and their problems, right? And other people's problems. And so they know I can handle it. They know I've got a solution or I can help them with that. And they know I care enough about them to listen and do something. Like, and that's the idea here, is we have to understand that God can and he cares. It's a can and a care. He can do something about it, and he cares enough about us to do something. So it's an awesome opportunity we have, really. Like, one way or another, we get so much out of this. We get to, if we have that faith and we have that trust in God, we get to bring our cares and our concerns and cast them off and be like, I can't deal with this, you take this, Lord. And if we find that we can't bring it to him like that, then we get to go, God, why am I not seeing you in the fullness of who you are? Why am I not able to trust you? And God will walk with you through that because he cares. It's not just a mandate and an order to cast, it's a promise to care. So if we can't do the first part, we still get the second part, where God says, I want to walk with you through this. Let's go through this together. And that's beautiful. And that's so encouraging to me. So I just want to encourage you today, like, cast your burdens before the Lord. Throw them off. Like, just chuck the junk, right? And if you find that you can't do that, then come to God and say, God, why am I having a hard time chucking the junk? Why am I having a hard time trusting you the way I should and I want to? And he'll walk with you. And that's beautiful. It's just a thought.